Have you ever heard the phrase, "I wouldn't date you even if we were the last two people on Earth"? Well, imagine that, but instead of there being one man, there's 5. And instead of one woman, there's, well, 5 billion. This is, somehow, the premise of Winter 2022's Worlds End Harem. I originally assumed this was your run-of-the-mill ecchi anime that would be completely forgotten by the time the season is over. But no, this anime, produced by Studio Gokumi, has garnered so much attention that it is being simulcast on Crunchyroll. Now, if your initial reaction to that is, I didn't realize Crunchyroll would air such a lewd anime. Well, you're kind of right. Most of the reviews for the show are complaining about the abhorrent censorship on Crunchyroll. Apparently, there were a few too many tatas for Crunchyroll Hime's liking, so they did my YouTube channel a favor by blacking out the down bad parts, making the show somewhat family friendly, I guess? At least, as family friendly as a show about the entire world wanting to bone you can be. Although, within all the angry, thirsty men in the reviews, there is one guy that seems okay with this change. And that is because, and I quote, he enjoys the great story. Okay, let's dissect this great story a little bit, Paul Beast. After being put in a cryogenic sleep for 5 years, Reito wakes up in a woman's world. Literally. It turns out that in his sleep, a global pandemic occurred that caused a huge number of casualties. What's the catch? The only people that passed were those with a Y chromosome. I think that's how biology works, right? Yes, this male killer wiped out nearly all of the population's men, making Reito one of society's rarest and most precious resources. Even worse, after the good old MK knocked out 99% of the world's testosterone, things don't go so well. Because without men in this world, society is bound to completely fall apart, apparently. This show had to have been written by a man, right? But as the informational video told us, the world faced an enormous crisis that caused numerous problems. Ah yes, very informative indeed. Regardless of the exact circumstances behind it, half the world's population was selectively Thanos snapped. Food is becoming increasingly scarce, and the gap between the rich and the poor only continues to grow. But it's not as if society turned into complete anarchy. A group was formed to govern the world named the United Women. No, I am not joking, that is what they named themselves. I'm not exactly sure how they managed to rise to power, but you know, they developed units to stop riots and stuff during the outbreak, so I guess that's a good enough reason to give you the keys to control the entire globe. But have no fear, women of the world, after many years, a man is once again here to save the day. Reito was one of the lucky few men that underwent a special treatment for MS. This procedure put him in a cryogenic sleep for 5 years, saving him from the MK bug. All of this is thanks to something I've failed to mention. Prior to the outbreak of MK, the year on Earth was 2040, and we were in a period of extreme scientific growth. So much so that humans discovered a cure to MS, a complex nerve condition that cuts down the average human lifespan by up to 7 years. So, apparently, in the years leading up to the manpocalypse, we made leaps and bounds in the health research field only for a random pandemic to wipe out all of the men in 3 months. And before all you Worlds End Harem fans come and attack me, actually this is because I don't care. I'm aware that I'm expecting far too much out of an anime that just wants an excuse to fill every last pixel of screen with breasts. However, while I'm not an expert on ecchi harem anime, I'd like to think I know a thing or two about a pandemic. And yeah, our situation wasn't exactly targeting and killing men specifically, but we're not nearly as technologically advanced as the world of Worlds End Harem. You want me to believe that this society had a cure to MS, but couldn't stop or just merely slow the spread of the MK? Even if they couldn't find a solution in time, you're telling me they couldn't have just pulled in Australia and saved certain parts of the world? Countries would set up a system where no one gets in and out, a total lockdown. I'd like to hope that if we were in a situation where hundreds of millions of people were being wiped out, we could band together to save mankind. Literally. Anyways, going back to our main character, something about the MS or cryogenic sleep made him immune to MK. Not only that, but if he were to bear a child, they would also be immune to the virus. And before you go thinking about blood testing, artificial pregnancy, or any other means of a cure for the masses, don't. According to our trusty main girl Mira, scientists tried all that, but nothing except for natural pregnancy could do the trick. So, for the sake of the world, it's up to him to f*** as many people as humanly possible. He's got 5 billion women fighting for him, so finding potential partners for him should be easy, right? Well, not exactly. Prior to his treatment, his love interest Erisa agreed to wait for him. Because of this, she is the only woman he's willing to procreate with. While I guarantee you that this is probably the plot point that most fans of Worlds End Harem dislike, this is the one plot point I can agree to. I understand that the idea of the entire world wanting you at the same time might sound enticing, but try to put your feet in his shoes for a second. You wake up expecting to see your family warmly welcoming you back to the world. Instead, you're greeted with an apocalyptic society almost entirely made up of women. You barely understand what's going on when some weird AI looking person attempts to breed you off like you're some piece of livestock. Wouldn't you be the slightest bit terrified? Once the initial wave of thirstiness wore off and you came to your senses, wouldn't one of the first people you want to see be the love of your life? I get that some of you have never felt a woman's touch, but come on, you should understand this. And this perfectly leads into yet another issue I have with the show. When he first wakes up, he believes that the girl comforting him is his love, Erisa. However, it's actually a girl named Mira. This is Erisa, this is Mira. I'd argue that he's confused because the two look alarmingly similar. Why is one of his first questions not, who is this random girl helping me and why does she look like Erisa? I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that this girl looking like his love interest has something to do with the United Women, but, you know, that's just my intuition based on the very obvious foreshadowing in the first episode. While the plot to this story probably sounds like a 15-year-old's wet dream, I actually find it to be quite sad. Imagine being Reito. Sure, the idea of waking up to 5 billion women all wanting you at the same time might sound enticing, but let's just think about why they chose to do this. For most of them, the reason has nothing to do with him at all. Instead, what is the only resource more valuable than men at this moment? Children. So, if these women were to get pregnant with his child, they'd be treated like royalty. In a world where the battle for life is getting increasingly intense, having a child is the trump card that puts you above everyone else. So, for many of these women, they're not interested in him because they're emotionally or physically attracted. They just want a way to escape their life. And who could blame them? But to me, this is why Reito's motivation makes perfect sense. Iris is a girl that's willing to wait 5 long years for him, even though she had just been confessed to by another man. She loved him so much, she was instantly willing to wait 5 years without them even going on a date. That's a really long time. To me, she's the ultimate keeper, and the fact that he wants to save himself for her is the show's single redeeming aspect. The only issue is that, well, he doesn't know where she is. However, thanks to some great plot convenience, he has a way of tracking her. He wasn't allowed to wear any jewelry during his procedure, so he gives it to Arisa to hold for him while he's gone. As it turns out, this necklace, which he didn't even plan on giving her until he was straight up told he couldn't wear it, just so happened to have a tracker in it. What a romantic gift to give someone right before going into cryogenic sleep. Here, take this necklace so I can track every movement you make over the next 5 years. It's amazing that it's still even working after 5 years and a halving of the Earth's population, but whatever. Regardless of the strange Big Brother vibes this necklace gives me, it seems like it'll play a key role with Reito reuniting with Arisa. However, the world cannot wait for Reito to find his love, so Mira issues him a challenge. He has 1 month to look for her, but each night he must sleep with a different woman. I mean, he literally has to sleep in bed with them. The normal kind of sleep. Not the plastic wrap manga kind of sleep. Will he be able to do it while staying faithful? I'm not sure, but what I do know is I probably won't be watching to find out. I'm gonna be honest, I looked up the wiki page to this show when I was double checking everyone's names, and the show just gets even more wild. But for now, if you want a more wholesome anime suggestion, check out my video on My Senpai's Annoying.